You are now listening to the Lancescurv Show, the boldest spot on internet radio.
Ms. Roberta Vigilance, beautiful name. Welcome to the Lancescurv Show. We've been
Thank
talking
you,
for a
Lance.
while. Yes. We've been talking for a while in the conversation before this particular conversation, and I've gotten to know you on so many different levels, and I have to say that you are phenomenal. You are an inspiration, and I learned so much from you. What you're doing now, so many lanes that you're conquering, and I want you to explain. You have a book, you give seminars, you help people, and that's so good of you to do that. And you're worth your weight in gold. But I want you to go down the list of all that you offer, and I want to have a human to human conversation, the face behind the book, the face behind the seminars and the events, so the world can know how valuable you are. Talk to me.
Lance, thank you once more. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure being on your show. Speaking with you prior to jumping on the call. It was really, really nice. What I do is I teach individuals, Lance, how to secure sponsors for events. Now, sponsors are supporters of events that pay either with money or resources to fund an event. So I teach individuals how to communicate with sponsors, even prior to, I should say, more important than communicating with sponsors is to have a understanding of what sponsorship is. So you're right. I'm the author of How to Secure Sponsors Successfully, which is in its third edition. And I teach individuals how to secure sponsors through, as you mentioned, the book, the course, and the seminar. The book teaches how the foundation of sponsorship. So just like any industry you go into, you have to know the foundation of it before you can start communicating. And I think if we were to do that just in general, just to have an understanding before we start to communicate, we will get better results. So in addition to understanding sponsorship and how to communicate with sponsors, I also teach you, so the book, in the book you'll learn, or through my course you'll learn how to sell your event to sponsor. So it doesn't matter what type of event it is, Lance. It could be a seminar, it can be a project. In one of my videos, I've said even Lindsay Lohan, her drug rehabilitation state that was sponsored. Like anything you can think of, Lance, it can be sponsored. So I share in the book, and I hear my courses either online or I can come, to, and I've been to, other locations where I teach the fundamentals of how to secure sponsors. So selling to sponsors. And the other one, which is very new in this third edition, is how to evaluate the success of the sponsorship. It's a huge thing in the sponsorship industry. A lot of sponsorship professionals, for those who are already securing sponsors, the biggest thing anyone would agree is how to measure the sponsorship results, right? Or even how to evaluate the success of the sponsorship. So in there, I've created, it's called VEMIS, which is Vigilance Metric for evaluating the sponsorship. And it lets you know, doesn't matter if you're your first time securing sponsors or you've been doing it for a very long time, and even sponsors can use this metric. It lets you know if the sponsorship is going to be successful or not. So before you approach a sponsor, you just fill in the information that's on the sheet, and you're like, okay, I am using the right marketing strategies. I am using the right activations, and you'll learn these terms in the book, which it gets into that. That will let you know if those things and some other steps that are mentioned in there will let you know if the sponsorship will be successful or not. And the book also talks about the different types of personalities that you're going to come across, meaning that when you make that phone call to the sponsorship
I find that
professionals, yeah, I'm glad I did that here. I'm glad I did. I'm glad that I, that actually that thought came to me to put it in a book in the third edition, like, because you could get disgruntled when I started. You can get kind of disgruntled and you think it's you. After a while, you're like, well, I am calling these the sponsors. I'm calling them. Why am I not getting the response I need? And sometimes it's just not you. And in there, I just talk about how to handle the rejection. Sometimes you will get rejected. Um, it's not always a yes, and you get rejected for different reasons. One might be that you're calling when the sponsor doesn't even have the budget. The budget has already been allocated to another event. So it goes into that part. Another thing that I put into this book that none other book has is that my coaching sessions, I usually have coaching sessions with clients, even though I'm focused on the teaching of it. I have those who say, well, listen, just guide me through the process. And I charge $1,800 for that. But I put that information, Lance, in the book. Like the same thing
Right.
that I use with my coaching session, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get into my client. I don't know if I should have asked my client and say, hey, I know you paid, 4 figures for this. Should I, put this stuff in the book? Because, the book is only $60. But
Right.
the same questions that I asked, $6 now, I don't know if it's going to change. But the same questions, Lance, that I ask my client is the same questions that is in the book. And what that does, it helps the reader understand the value of their event. Like you have to have a value because you're selling your event, and it guides you through the process. So it's great too if you have more than one event that's going on in your life, whether it's an upcoming, let's say it's a workshop, and then you want to do something else in another part of the world. It lets you know like where you should start. It guides you like, oh, if I start this, I can leverage this to get to my long-term goal. Just by answering those questions, you'll know exactly where to start. So that's very fascinating. Those are some of the things that are new in this book that's not in the others.
Exactly.
That's a
But
mouthful.
even though there may be a big difference in price of the book and what you charge for being there in person and giving them the information, is that the book can't answer the customized questions. So they're getting the
Correct.
basic things, but it's worth it to have you there that they can ask you specific situations and solutions to specific challenges that they may have. And nothing beats the real thing, having you there in front, living and breathing right there in front of them, where they can ask you just about anything from any angle. But yes, pound for pound, the book is the thing to do. And even me now, I am not a master of your area of expertise, but I would say and suggest get the book and then have you give your seminar in person, because when you're well educated and all the basic stuff is out of the way, now they can ask you better questions instead of the basic ones as if they didn't have the book at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you feel is the biggest fallacy or the biggest I don't want to use the word ignorant or bit of misinformation that people have about sponsorship? I know that that's not a common area that most people know about, or something that you just can't Google really quick and get a quick answer, like in a recipe. So, across the board, what is it that you find to be a redundant question, or something you have to answer over and over to give them the basics about what you do, what sponsorship is, how it relates to the events, that we can, in this interview, get that out of the way so they can come with you with a more informed question?
That's okay. Just thinking about it, just thinking about one of it gives me kind of like this headache. And the only reason, and I said that respectfully, a lot of people come at it as though they already know right? What sponsorship is, and in the book I share 7 of the hugest of the huge misconceptions about sponsorship. And one of it is thinking that it's a donation. So if you think something is something else, you're going to treat it as such. And it's not a donation. The sponsor is not giving you money and saying goodbye. In exchange for giving you money and their resources, they want something in return. That irks me because the one thing, Lance, is that I don't want anyone to think that they're entitled to the sponsorship, and the second thing is I want them to know you have to give back as well. So if you're going to take, you have to give back. So it's definitely not it's a donation. That's one. And then the other is just treating it as though it's advertisement, like, giving the sponsor a shout out or placing a banner at the event. Like, that's not all. So many other things that you can offer, from changing the perception of the sponsor to extending their reach. So many things you can offer the sponsor. In the book lists some of those common things that sponsors look for. What I do get a lot is funding. What I find out when I listen to individuals, and and I ask the famous question, and this is even in the coaching session. It's like, what is your budget? And a lot of people don't know that. It's like, oh, I didn't think about it. And it's like, yeah, you need to know how much you're asking for, right? You really need to know how much funding to ask for. And I find that a lot of people miss out on that part of it.
And that would make for a better connection, because you don't have to go through that all over again. And we do say that respectfully, because nobody's going to know what you know. They're coming there. But I'm the kind of guy, and maybe it's just me, but I just believe that, say, for example, when I go into Home Depot or Lowe's or anywhere, my game is to not ask the associate. I should have a little information about it ahead of time and confirm it before we move on, so I can ask a more intelligent question. I noticed when I looked at your presentation on the website, you had some notable people there, and that had to be something for you that was a validation, because what you're doing is real. This is not a half-baked attempt to do what you do. How did it feel to, I remember from back in the day, the music, Bow-Legged Louie, and these different entertainers and stuff. But as you navigate this world and you deal with sponsorship, tell us the mentality that goes behind it, because most people don't understand. Not that anybody's dumb. They have no experience, pretty much, and I don't have as much experience as you do, but they don't have the experience in dealing with the corporate side of things and the mentality that it takes to get through, and also not taking things personal, because it's a process and you can't be emotional during that process. So what would you say to someone who is not used to dealing with the cold, hard dollars and cents and process of if it's going to happen or if not, and how to keep themselves encouraged and how to navigate in that world?
You're right. There are two different sides, right? There's the entertainment side, as you mentioned, and the corporate side. And I've been on both sides. Even though I was on the entertainment side when I started to plan events, the Entertainment Industry Network seminar, I've done that. It was still a business for me. So I'm personally, I love music. That's just my personal character. So when I coordinated the Entertainment Industry Network seminar, EINS, EINS, it was, which is the acronym for Entertainment Industry Network seminar. It was to showcase the different talents, to educate the different musicians on other outlets they can take to get into the entertainment industry. So most people wanted to sing and dance. So cool, you want to sing and dance, but you can still get in from you can still get into the industry by becoming an editor, a music producer, So what I did was brought in people that have been there, done that, such as the bow-legged Lewis you mentioned, and full force, bow-legged Lou of full force, such as Kango UTFO, and a lot of other people. Trying to remember like some other names, but I brought those individuals in because they have, if you Google them, come on, you know, they have a really strong, strong, what do you call it? Case of music. I don't know what else you call it, but Roxanne, that Kango has done is in the Guinness World Book of Records. Like, these guys have been around full force. They write for Backstreet Boys. They wrote for James Brown. I mean, the list goes on. Lisa Cole Jam, depending on what era you're from. So they have so much experience that they can give back the knowledge to up and coming individuals. What I find that with entertainment, when you want to be an entertainer, is that you're just thinking about creating your craft. You're not thinking about the business side of it. So what I do in the book shares is how to be. You're still you. You need to find the value in you, but you can also be corporate, knowing the right language. So I'm not going to know, for example, as you said, you're not going to know what I know, and Lance, I'm not going to know what you know until I educate myself on it. Till I learn it. And when you're learning something, I'm going to come in with my questions, and there's no question as a dumb question, and I truly believe that. But if you truly want to learn, then you listen. Don't come in and say, well, whoa, so sponsorship is just it's just a donation. That's what it is. And you're not listening. And I'm telling you, no, it's about creating a win-win partnership. So that's the corporate side of it. This is why when you call sponsors and they don't want to take your phone call and they reject your sponsorship letter, is because you're not coming in with this as from the corporate side. You're still maybe thinking that, I don't want to say it's just entertaining without the business. So, to answer, so many things you've said. So I'm thinking if I touched on all of the points that you have made. Not sure. Did I?
You got it. You made sense.
I wasn't sure if I covered everything. Yeah.
No, well, I mean, we're just having a conversation. I mean, you're the enlightened one here with this because you're my go-to person, because I never really thought about that. I've always been one to see these events, and I always notice there's something below the surface, and I love to understand the business end of things. And that is always, I can't even say it's been a gray area. It's been one blank area. Like, how does that work? How do we get to the point where you see the stars, or you see people in a corporation, a company, they're standing in front of this big backdrop with different logos on it? And, how's the money flowing? How does this happen? How do we get to this point? So this is very valuable for me. And like I said, I think the book, even if a person is not interested in gaining any sponsorship for any event, they don't have any event plan, but just to know, this is valuable knowledge here. You see?
Yeah.
And I have to applaud you for, taking the time to break it down. And yes, it's worth its weight in gold. And it's something that I need to know, because there are things that we're going to be actually doing, because we're doing events. So this just fell right into our lap. You fell right into our lap. And what you bring is powerful. And I need to know. And like I said, I'm going to buy the book.
Thank you so much. I'm glad. It's something that you said, Lance. Even though you're not securing sponsors, it's still good knowledge to know. And I agree with you, because it teaches. For example, we all live in a community, different communities, different parts of the world, same town, different parts of sections from within one community. There are brands that are in that community. It teaches how to communicate with those brands. It doesn't necessarily, Lance, always have to be like the corporate brands. It could be the mom and pop store as well. And then you don't need to use sponsorship for a huge party. It doesn't always have to be, the lights flashing. It could be simple as a birthday party. It could be something as you are a student and you want to go get your real estate license and you ask the agency to sponsor you and you go work for the agency in return for that. Simple things like that, which you can use sponsorship to save money. Maybe you're like a student that don't have the money and sponsors will cover it. Maybe you are a business and you are looking to save your money. Partner with a sponsor. So it is good information to have even on a smaller scale of type of event.
Exactly. So it doesn't have to be all of that. It could be partnering up with the local supermarket, right, to sponsor something smaller. Yeah. So this is something we need to know. I come from the old school where you just got to know stuff. You ever know that person, that older guy who in passing you talked to him and he knew all kind of things, and you looked at him like, you don't look like you know all those, and there's no look to be intelligent, but practical stuff across the board. That's the person I want to be. I just don't want to be a person who knows one area and that's it, or one or two. I want to know a little bit about everything. Now, I'm not going to dominate our interview, but I want to say this. When I got my checkup the other day, I did my blood work, got my checkup, everything came through cool. And I know I made it easier for my doctor, because I told him, I said, you know what? I know I make it easier for you. And he laughed. He said, you did. And so what am I talking about? I have a knowledge of the human body. I have a knowledge of diet. I have a knowledge of these concepts. So I would have to often stop him and let him know, I know about this. I know little adjustments I have to make, little things I have to do. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You're the easiest visit I had to deal with. And that's the way we want to be, because we can always use that on some level. Are there any things that you have planned as far as helping others in the near future, aside from the book, aspirations, different areas, something that's related? Has your involvement in this opened the door for you mentally, where you say, you know what, I'm doing this and this is not too far? You have a mechanic who opens up a shop. Well, then why not sell tires? So are there any other areas that would be beneficial to you in what you already do that are beyond it, related?
One day I would love to, I would love to continue down the path of, again, getting back into planning events and securing sponsors. I would like to have a space that is strictly for sponsored events. So whether it's, a children's event, whether it's an adult event, I would also like to have programs within the space. So programs such as getting back to sewing, like sewing classes, or as I mentioned, I love music. One room would have a music room. And I want to connect these different programs and these different, including the events, right, with different brands. And I would love to do that. I would love to see that become a reality one day. I will also, the second thing is to kind of be a consultant for nonprofit organizations, right? To kind of like, they have simple things like book bag drives, and they have huge nonprofits that they're looking to make $1 million a year or $1 million even for one project. So more community-based nonprofit organizations, I would like to work with them and kind of advise them on, targeting brands and how to go about partnering with sponsors. I would love one day actually to do those two things. Just thinking about it now, it's a warm feeling, but we'll see.
Interesting. The main thing I want to ask you too, initially getting into doing this, which led to you creating the book, what was the first, looking back, the first time period, moment when that bell rang off and the light bulb went off and you had that aha moment where you say, I want to write this book. I need to share this. Tell me the beginning of it all. Like when we see superheroes in the comic books and the origin of, and we find out how they became who they became. How did you become this person to do this? What was it that rang off and inspired you where you took that first step? And what was that first step?
No one ever asked that question, and
Haha.
it's a spark. No one ever asked that, and I'm glad you. I didn't even know that question could be asked outside of myself. So it's pretty cool. The first time, Lance, I thought about writing this book, writing the first book, I should say, is when I moved from one state to the other. So I'm in this new state, right? I'm in Georgia, and I'm like, okay. I initially went to Georgia to work because I was planning events. I said, well, I'm going to go to Georgia. I'm going to go to the new state. I'm going to plan the events and secure sponsors. So when I was there, I realized, ooh, I can't run around like I want to because I'm there, with my son. He was really young at the time, and I didn't know anyone, so I can do this babysitting thing. And I'm like, I didn't plan that out well at all. I just jumped into it. So I'm like, okay, so I can't plan it. But I did send out some of my resume, and they said, well, hey, you got a typo here. No, we can't talk to you. I'm like, oh, for a typo? Gee whiz. So it was okay. I decided that's the moment I'm like, I'm going to teach people what I know. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to put it in a book. I'm going to write it. That time it was an ebook.
There you go.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about print. So I was like, I'm going to put this pretty much on paper, right? So that's when I typed up and created is to go, homeless, to go in the street. So that's not something I would tell anyone to do, although I've heard of situations where the streets was much better and safer than what they're going through at home. So I totally get that, get that part of it. But once you stop allowing people to kill your dreams and suck your energy, you'll feel so much more confident about what you're doing. I don't know if it's a purpose, if we were just like born with this purpose and we need to fulfill it. I don't know why it comes up this way. Like you just can't stop. But once you stop allowing those type of vibes to be around you, those bloodsuckers to be around you, then you'll be able to just feel so good about what you're doing, even if just what you're doing to serve one person alone. Believe me, because I already have my mind like, it just one person ordered the book is good. Although I did some pre-orders already, I'm just saying, moving forward, just one person, it just feels that good to share your work with. It's well worth it. And maybe after that, you have to move on to something else, if it's not producing the results that you want it to produce, just like with sponsorship deals, it stops, right? Sponsors pull out and like, listen, this partnership is not working, we got to go. So it is very important to find a way to remove yourself from those who are not supporting what you're doing. Very important.
Exactly. And it's a righteous thing because you were given your life, you were given your purpose, even when you didn't realize the purpose. And there are purposes that you have in your future that you don't even know yet. This is what makes this life such a wonderful journey. Mm-hmm. And there are people out here who don't see that trajectory. They don't see that. I want to see what's next. When you watch a TV show and, there's an episode and on the next episode, or it's like, okay, let's see how the story develops, which I'm not a TV person that way, but I try to speak in a way that people can relate to. But I want to see what's next. What's the next person that I get to talk to that got the number? What's the next person that you're going to talk to that heard you and they want to talk to you directly and continue this dialogue? I wake up and there's so many unexpected things that happen that are really great. The amount of people that I meet directly, the good people, so you just have to know how to keep the good with you and the bad away and figure out the good looking ones who are really bad. it's a gift. You get it down to it's like down to a skill, it's an art to it. And the more time you spend to yourself and meditate and focus on your goals, you can feel that energy. You can discern those spirits. And sometimes I let them hang around for a little bit. I play around with them. They're trying to drop little negative nuggets around me. And I'm just being so positive. And I know they're getting pissed. I'm trying to discourage them. And he's going higher in his goals. What do I have to do? But you remember, it's an article I wrote named The Science of Haters. It's on my blog. I think I wrote it like 8 or 9 years ago. And I basically said that the haters that you have accrued, that's your invert cheerleading squad. See, because haters, they don't waste their time. Haters aren't stupid. They're very energy efficient. They want pound for pound the most positive energy that they can destroy. Pound for pound, they want the most. So they're not going to invest in somebody who's already negative. There's no fun in that. They want winners. And the more haters you have, the more much of a winner you are. You have been identified as somebody who is going to make it. Chances are, like in high school, the one most likely to succeed. Well, the haters see this. And you draw them like a light in the backyard, a floodlight, and all these little weird looking bugs that you don't see in the daytime are flying around it. I'm not saying you want haters as validation, but you will have them. It's like me with my big mouth. I tell people, it doesn't shock me that the government keeps an eye on me and the people that I talk to. I would feel very insulted right now at this point, after 17 years to date, being online, doing what I do, that I'm not on some government list. Please put me on a list. Let me know that my work is effective. You see what I mean? So that's validation that you're doing the right thing when you get them around you, but you don't want them around you.
Right.
But haters are great investors into who's positive and who's not.
So true. It is so true. Sometimes too, it depends on who they are. You kind of go, you have, not you have to, but because you're respecting, like, okay, who the person is, not so much the energy, but who the person is, the form they come in, you're like, okay, I'll come in, high for 1 minute, but I can't stay around this for too long. Gotta go. Gotta hang up the phone or something like that. So, not saying, if that energy is coming from, someone who's dear to you, like, I'm not saying don't ever speak to them. Now, they do have people who are just they're so focused, like tunnel vision focused. To be like, I don't care who you are. Once you're not on the same, energy as I'm on, you're out of here. I don't want nothing to do with you. Don't call me. Don't even think about me, actually. And they're just tunnel vision focus. Yeah. I'm like, those people there. I'm like, whoa. I think it's pretty cool. I guess I don't know if they ever return after they achieve what it is that they want to achieve, but I remember it was this guy who lived on my block years ago, and many years ago, and he became a dancer. He used to dance at different clubs. I remember going to this kind of like a mini concert, but it was an event, and I saw him dancing, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that's what he does. But I knew he danced. His family lived at the corner house, and I think he was spending the summer there, or he was spending some time there. I don't know what the story was, and so he told me he actually was a dancer, and when I went to the club, I actually saw him like dancing. Don't remember if he invited me, and I just don't remember. It's a little cloudy, but when I was at that club, and I remember trying to get his attention, like, hey, I'm here. Maybe he didn't invite me because then he would have paid some attention, but he happened to be there, and I was trying to get his attention, like, hey, I'm here. He was like so focused on his dance and focus on his network, I should say, where where he was going, that he kind of like looked at me but didn't look at me. It was like he's seeing through past me. It was just this weird thing. It wasn't like this acknowledge, like, hey, glad you're here, or glad I've been right. It was like, it was the strangest thing like ever. Like we were strangers. So I'm like, okay. But I didn't think anything of it. And then a couple of years after, I saw him on television. And I, oh, okay, nice. I think he was working, was it with Queen Latifah? I don't remember. But he has his own, he wound up having his own show called 101. His name is Mark. I think you guys probably know him as Flats. But, he's married to Shanice. I think Shanice is a singer now. But, yeah, I was...
Oh, the one who sung back in 91, I Love Your Smile. I Like Your Smile.
I love your smile. Yes. Yes, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, that her husband is Mark, right? Flex? Right. Flex. Yeah. Very, very decent stand-up guy. Yeah, so things like that. And he had to have been on that tunnel vision stuff because, he was, like I said, he was over the family house. I think he was going through something and was staying there. But yeah, I think he probably was on that tunnel vision where you stay so focused, you get to where you're going. I don't know if he ever, looked back with his family or what, but it's better that way than, you keep letting people bring you down and keep telling you you're not going to make it, or they encourage you to take one step and they take 4 steps away from you at times. It's like you're not going anywhere, right? You're making 1 step forward and 4 steps back. So don't let your emotion take you away from what you truly, truly, truly want to do.
100% bona fide truth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, with the book, give us the information, when it's coming out, what it's about. Let's just act like the listeners didn't hear anything that we said. So, and again, tell us who you are as we wrap it down, and about the book. And trust me, you're stuck with me. I'll be bugging you. We're going to do this again and again and again.
I'm going to hold you to that, Lance. And
you heard it here first now. When you said, Lance, I can't do another one today. No.
I'm so busy.
I got that tunnel vision now.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let my old age fool you.
I got that tunnel vision. Absolutely. And you're part of that tunnel vision. Because I'm looking for outlets that would share this information, and the information really teaches individuals how to get funding for events. It doesn't matter what type of events. If you're talking about a movie, if you're talking about a showcase, you can think about any type of event. If it's a research that you're doing in the lab, it's medical research. It does not matter. Whatever type of event uses funding, you can use the information in this book to get funding for your events. And funding means money and also resources. So you might need audio, visual equipment. You might need prizes to give out for raffles. And this book is in there. It says the universal law of securing sponsors. So it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. This book can be used to secure a sponsor. It's very basic. It's universal as what sponsorship is, right? So whether you are in Australia, I know I have a few listeners there, whether you're in Australia or you are in the United States, Jamaica, any part of the world, like this is the common language, like the terms that's used. What is sponsorship? Everyone across the board know what sponsorship is. So this book teaches that. There's no misconception that it's donation. You do that, boom, you're out the door, especially when you're speaking with someone who has the knowledge, a sponsorship professional who has the knowledge. So it also teaches you how to communicate with sponsors, how to evaluate the sponsorship proposal, how to sell your events to sponsors. So again, it doesn't matter what type of event it is. It could be a small event. It could be a large event. It could be the first time you're planning an event. It could be the 60th event that you're doing. This book would teach you how to partner with brands and different types of sponsors. They have corporate sponsors. When you're talking, as I mentioned, Coca-Cola, Tommy Hilfiger, you have local sponsors like your mom and pop stores. You have media sponsors like the news in your area for the United States, and I believe they're outside of the United States. They have NBC, which was a sponsor for my client. She did a domestic violence against women event and provided content for NBC. NBC came in and to support it. It's like, listen, we're going to share your event with our audience. So it talks about the different types of sponsors that you can partner with and how to make that partnership happen and how to bounce back from rejections because it's selling. So sometimes you will get that no. Understand what that no means. If you're doing the right thing and you still get a no, as we do in life, it's kind of cool to understand what it means and not be so hard on ourselves and maybe even tweak what we're doing to make it better. And sometimes it is ourselves. We're causing it on our own self. So it's best to kind of figure out what is, what what side it is on. Is it our fault, or maybe it's not our fault? The book, excuse me, would help you with that and guide you through it. It releases How to Secure Sponsors Successfully, the 3rd edition revised, funding for events. It releases March 30th. And why such a long name and just not the 3rd edition? That's because I released the 3rd edition, and it was last year actually. And I noticed I sold it on this website, and when I read the book myself, like I took it off and I read it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had some typos in there, and it was quite a little, embarrassing. I'm not a writer per se. I just wanted to share this information. So it's like, here it is, take it, boom. It doesn't matter if a word was spelled incorrectly. It's like, this is the information. You still use it, but I decided to just take it more serious. Like I said, I noticed people outside of the country who had an interest, from reading my blog posts that I had on social media and just finding ways of finding my content, and started engaging, and they wanted to read it and again, so they can get funding for their events in their part of the world. And you don't necessarily, for example, if you are in the U.S. and you're seeking sponsorship, you don't necessarily have to just work with brands within the United States. You can look outside of the United States as well. So when I noticed that there were so many typos, I took it serious and really got an editor to look it over, and so that just to correct some of the spellings in there. Again, I was raised in Guyana and raised in New York as well, so my lingo, how I speak and spell, say some words, it might be, a little off. So it's kind of good to get someone like, this is what they do, to look over it, and they did, which is pretty cool. Actually, I did a video, just think was like maybe a week ago, where I actually opened the book and saw it in print for the very first time, and pretty exciting. I'm reading it myself. I'm loving it so far. I'm going to read it again. I see where I can, like I say, even one person purchases the book, I'm writing it in such a way, I'm tweaking it in such a way where it's like I'm just talking to that one person who I would be helping to secure sponsors for their event. So I'm loving that type of, of energy. Then when I finish, I'm going to look it over once again. So again, it doesn't matter what part of the world that you're in. I'm going to release it it's a hardcover book, by the way. It's not a soft cover, so it's really pretty, the hardcover of it. And you'll find it on currently. You can read who's going to help it. You can read all the chapters in the book. You can find that on eventsandsponsors.com, and that's www.eventsandsponsors.com, eventsandsponsors.com. You can click on the book page and or the picture, and you can check out the reward program that's there too. That's pretty exciting. I am going to release the book on lulu.com, and I'm hoping that doesn't change. That's where you can buy it, and maybe I'll put it on Amazon, but we'll just have to wait and see. But to get started, it would be definitely you can go to eventsandsponsors.com, and on March 30th, you can go to lulu.com, and you'll find it there as well. And doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, Lulu ships internationally.
Well, it's been wonderful and informative and very humane. It wasn't just a typical bulleted interview. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. Know that there's more to come, and leave your comments. If you need to reach out to her, hey, I'm the guinea pig. My number's out there, and we'll get through and whatever you need to know or what further you want from her. But you got to buy that book. You got to support this sister. So many of our sisters out here are doing some things that make me bow my head in shame. Here we have one sister who's doing the right thing, uplifting her community walking in dignity and being a shining example of what a woman should be. And you have to hear that. You have to know that when you look in the mirror every day, sister. And for all those who are listening, this is a sister worthy of respect, worthy of protection, worthy of your honor to give her. Because we need more like you in the community. They're not making too much like you anymore, sister. So thank you for being an example and an inspiration to me.
I appreciate it. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You have no choice but to take it. You earned it. So
thank you, right?
you can do the Ralph Cramden all you want. You're going to get it. You're going to get so much more because you're deserving of it. You're deserving of it. You're putting the work in and you're doing the right thing. And I see it. And I'm going to call it out every time.
Make sure to check out the boldest blog at Lancescurv.com and follow Scurv on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube under Lancescurv.